All right, so I'm going to ask you to get your notebook out. Anything that is on the presentation, make sure that you're keeping your notes. You should have your headphones on. You should have your notebook out, and you should be able to settle in for a lesson today. I want to apologize, first of all, to you guys for not being able to be at work, but I'm trying my best to make it as painless for you all as it is very painful for me. I'm not one that likes to miss work at all, and I'm trying to be as proactive as an educator as I can, and I hope you respect that. So today we're going to talk about weathering versus erosion. You should have that already written and should have this slide pretty much written down in your notes as I've been talking. But now, anytime that you need to pause the video to get the notes down, please do so. Weathering versus erosion. Many people think of weathering and erosion as the same thing. However, weathering is going to break down rocks into smaller particles. We call those particles sediments. Okay? Without weathering, there would not ever be soil. Okay? So we need weathering. Without weathering, there would be no erosion, because erosion is going to remove the weathered sediments. So the smaller particles, and it can go from a larger particle size, being that such as a boulder, all the way to, you know, a gravel, to a pebble, and things of that nature. But the sediment sizes that we're going to talk about would be this right here, which would be sand, silt, and clay. The reason being, at the end of this presentation, or at the end of this unit, we're going to be talking about soil, and we need to make sure that we put these things in perspective and we understand that sediment size matters, because if you have a lot of sand in your soil, the water's going to go through it much quicker. You're going to have infiltration. However, if you have a lot of clay, water does not go through clay. Okay? So you have that standing water issue that happens a lot, especially in the valleys. Clay is that red dirt that you get on your shoes, and you know your mom gets on to you for tracking into the house. It's very hard to remove, and it's because it is so small. So how do we end up with sediment? Well, there's two types of weathering. Okay, there's mechanical weathering, which is sometimes called physical weathering. And again, that physical weathering is going to break down the rock physically without changing its composition. Okay. Chemical weathering, on the other hand, is going to change the chemical aspect of the rock, or the chemical composition of the rock. There are chemical reactions when there is chemical weathering. So again, there are two types of weathering: mechanical, and you'll hear me say it. Sometimes I'll call mechanical physical. The SOL, it's either going to say physical or mechanical. You just need to know it's the same exact thing, okay? Chemical weathering, on the other hand, they're going to call it chemical weathering, all right? It's going to break it down. So mechanical weathering. Mechanical weathering is going to break down rocks physically without changing the rock's chemical composition. Now, I want you to imagine, you know, if you had the task given to you of busting up rock with a hammer. You know, you strike the rock breaks up. You didn't change the rock chemically, but you changed the shape of the rock mechanically, you know, through physical process there. Physically, you changed it through a mechanical process. You think of an artist who is a sculptor, who goes out there and they chisel down the rock. They're changing the shape of the rock, but they didn't change the rock chemically. Well, Mother Nature does something similar to that with these agents of weathering. and of mechanical weathering. One would be like the tree roots, okay? You know, they've been changing a lot downtown. You know, they've revamped downtown. They've tore up the sidewalk and put down brick. But at one time, the sidewalk was busted up by the trees. And what would happen is the tree would grow and the roots would grow, you know, and as they would grow, they would expand. And as they expanded, it would bust up the sidewalk. Now, the tree root did not change the sidewalk's chemical composition. It just changed the structure. You know, it changed it physically. So that's a mechanical process. A lot of times in the upper elevations, and you know, you'll see this in the video, but in upper elevations, during the evening time, well, during the daytime, there can be like some moisture that actually gets into the cracks of a rock, but in the evening time and the night time, the rock begins to get cold and the water freezes, and as it freezes, we all know that, you know, ice expands. You know, water becomes ice. It expands about 10%, and that causes a thing called frost action. Sometimes they call it frost action, ice wedging, frost wedging. It's the same thing. It pries apart the crack of the rock and makes it larger. This is how potholes form in the wintertime as well. And last but not least is wind abrasion. You know, sandblasting. This happens in coastal areas and desert areas. The same type of abrasive action happens on the bottom of rivers with turbidity currents, and that's why the rocks, you know, those currents come through and it stirs up the sand, and as it does, the sand will grind up against the rock. You know, sand is very gritty and it'll grind up against the rock, and when it does that, of course, it smooths and rounds the rock, and it's very tough to stand on when you go down to the river. So what type of climate would physical weathering thrive in? We just said it, an arid climate. You know, if you have these sandstorms that come up, sand's just going to absolutely pound and polish rocks out there. It's sandblasting. Some in wet climates, especially with higher elevations, such as here in Southwest Virginia. You know, you go up to White Top, you go up to Mount Rogers, you're going to have a lot of ice wedging taking place up there, okay? But here's the thing about deserts. The desert is constantly high pressure system, meaning it's sinking air. And what that basically means is this. You have that sinking air component, and no clouds will form from sinking air. So whatever heat you gain during the day is lost back into the, lost out into the atmosphere, and so there's no heat. So in these arid climates, you know, it's very common that you might need a jacket of some sort for you to survive in the evening time, okay, because it gets very cold at night there. All right, so you're going to need your handout right here. You should be able to watch this video here. It's the physical and chemical weathering video questions, and you're going to answer part 1 as you watch this.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Earth Science screencast by yours teacher, Mr. Stano. And today we're going to go into looking at what these 3 pictures have in common. We have sand down at the bottom, the Grand Canyon, and then we have a statue. If we take a look at the 3, we can see that's sand. We all know we live on Long Island. We've been to the beach before. Very small particles. Grand Canyon, some people have been there. Others have not. But we can see here that it looks like it's mostly rock. We got some river flowing through the bottom. And then we have this statue right here, which definitely does not look like it was made that way. There's definitely been some sign of it being broken down right here. Well, is it a possibility that as the Grand Canyon breaks down, it turns into sand? Or maybe even the face of this statue, as it broken down, turned into sand. It is a good possibility. These three pictures have in common is that they've all been weathered or are as a result of weathering. So what is weathering? Weathering is a physical or chemical process that changes rock or breaks down rock. That's it. That's weathering. For weathering to occur, the rock or the substrate or the material must be exposed to the air, water, or human and or animal activities. Physical weathering. Physical weathering, much like we see here, we had at one time one giant rock, and something happened where it split into two. But the left side and the right side, for the most part, look similar or are a part of the same rock. Similar to when we get to the split rock right here, we can see that these two sides definitely made up one whole rock at some time, but really they look the same. As the same with this picture too. All these rocks have been physically weathered or mechanically weathered. Mechanically weathering or physical weathering of rocks, basically we break rock up into multiple pieces without changing the chemical composition or nature of the rock. The first type of physical weathering we will come in contact with is frost action, and it's very prevalent here on Long Island. Frost action, also known as ice wedging, has to do with the alternate freezing and thawing of water. So we know that if we put a container filled with water in the freezer, that it'll actually crack that container, because water, as it freezes, it expands. And what we see with frost action is that water will seep down into cracks of rock. As it freezes, it pushes the rock out as it expands, much like that container that we saw in the freezer. As the year goes on, the ice will melt, more water will get back into these cracks, and when it freezes, it'll cause it to even work farther and farther. So the years, or the alternate freezing and thawing of water, will cause cracks to develop in structures or in rock, and ultimately breaking off pieces. Potholes are a result, or partly are a result of this freezing and thawing. What we get here is that water is going to make it into any cracks in the road surface. It's going to freeze, and it's going to cause the pavement to pop up a little bit. Then when a plow comes, the plow itself will catch hold of that piece of road that's sticking up a little bit and pull it out of the ground. So potholes are a result of this alternating freezing and thawing. The next type of weathering we have is abrasion, and it's very similar to sanding. Basically, running water, wind, can cause sediments to rub up against each other, and when we do that, they wear down the surface. Much like what we see here, that as the sander goes around, it's got little pieces of sand on the sandpaper, and they're rubbing against this surface, ultimately wearing it down. Wave action, very similar. Basically, it's going to do the same exact thing we saw with abrasion, is that as the water comes in, it's going to carry very small particles with it, and as it carries the particles, they're going to hit a surface and be dragged back, so they're rubbing against each other. And it's the same here. The wave is going to come up, crash into here, and come back. That movement of sediment is going to act as sandpaper. Much like we see with wind action. Wind action will carry the sediment, and when it carries the sediment, it's going to cause it to bump into other little pieces and break down rock. Sandstorms right here, like we see in Kansas City, or this one right here, are very detrimental to the landscape and the features on it. And not to mention automobiles. As we get that sediment inside the air, if they make it past the air cleaner, can break down the inside of a motor. So it's not just rocks that can get weathered. We also have plant or root action. What happens here is that the plant will actually grow into a surface, and the roots will make their way down into cracks. As the plant grows, there's water within those roots, and it helps push apart or create forces that push apart the material, or the rock breaking them down. And we can see here that as